Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braj Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna जय श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय, जय निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे, निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, a very good evening to all of you. It is the weather is improving now since yesterday. Bit more sunny, so we can give up our frowns and look a little more happy, isn't it? Everyone is feeling a little more blissful. If you're not, just look out of the window. It's nice to have the sun outside. So Krishna Surya Sam Maya Hayat Andhakar, Jahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Maya Radhikar. So just as sitting here, we can feel happy seeing the sunlight outside through the windows. Similarly, the scriptures state that Krishna is brilliant like the sun. Krishna Surya Sam. And the material energy of Krishna is darkness. Whenever the sun appears, darkness is dispelled. So it is so very important to understand Krishna, because when the sun of Krishna arises within our consciousness, then the darkness of pain, dissatisfaction, jealousy, envy, and many other such qualities which lurk in the darkness of our lives, all of that disappear. Because Krishna, by his appearance, dispels all darkness. So, how do we welcome Krishna in our lives? How do we accept Krishna in our lives? We just have to change our perspective. Like, how do we see the sunlight? When we turn our face towards the sun. Facing darkness, we will not be able to see the sun unless and until our face is turned towards the sun. Similarly, when we consciously turn ourselves towards Krishna, when consciously we accept through faith and devotional practice the existence of Krishna within our lives and within this universe, then the darkness is dispelled. In the faraway land of India, far away from here, there are so many wonderful pastimes that have been exhibited by the Supreme Lord. And now, in this present century, the Lord has expanded his pastimes all over the globe. Many thousands of years ago, thousands and thousands of years ago, millennia ago, a long, long time before cities and towns existed, there were these pristine forests. And these forests would be the inhabitants of many exalted and powerful mystics and sages. Some of these sages would live at the top of mountains, would live on mountain peaks. One such mountain peak is situated in the western Ghats of India. It is called Brahmagiri. Here the great sage Agastya requested Lord Shiva to deliver him from his past reactions by releasing the river Ganga from his matted hair. And on that beautiful mountain peak, Lord Shiva released the waters of the Ganga. And then she flowed down from that mountain peak and she flowed right across the western and southern part of the Indian peninsula. She is revered as the Ganges in the south, Dakshin Ganga, also known as Godavari. On the banks of the river Godavari are many holy places, places of pilgrimage, places that have been invested by the mystical powers of the sages who performed their austerities on the banks of the river Godavari. One such powerful place is called Pratishtanpur. The significance of Pratishtanpur, which is a very ancient town, is exhibited by the fact that it has been mentioned in the Puranas and various other literatures. Pratishtanpur is a holy town, it's a holy place of pilgrimage on the banks of the river Godavari. It is on the eastern banks of the river Godavari. It has been explained in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, and later on the story has also been quoted in the Nectar of Devotion and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that in the town of Pratishtanpur lived many devotees. The entire town was actually devoted to worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they all worship the river Godavari also, who is not different from the Ganga. One such devotee was a very simple and honest Brahmana. The name of this Brahmana is not explained. It is just explained that he is a simple Brahmana from Pratishtanpur. Like in today's times, if there is a simple Brahmana here in this town of Calgary, then the Puranas say a simple Brahmana from Calgary. Like that. So simple Brahmana, an honest Brahmana. Brahmana is a category, it's just a designation to indicate that this person would live a certain way of life, would be very disciplined, austere, sense-controlled, and generally would be seeking alms from people for his basic needs. So, if he felt hungry, then he would go out and beg for some food. And if he needed some clothes because his clothes were now no longer usable, then he would go and beg for some clothes. As far as sleep was concerned and taking rest for the night, then such a person would generally sleep under a tree or in a cave. In other words, the person would not want to use one's time in making arrangements for one's eating and sleeping. Those are needs of the body, those are necessary, but the Brahmana would generally not make arrangements for that. The culmination of the life of a Brahmana in the human form would generally be sannyas, the renounced order of life. Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, was a sannyasi. When we take Srila Prabhupada's name in a very honorable way, then we say Parivrajagacharya. Parivrajagacharya means the fourth category of sannyas, the highest order of sannyas. So Srila Prabhupada was a sannyasi. Once when he was in Mayapur, India, and he was taking his tour of the property that ISKCON had, there were a few reporters with him, journalists. And one of the reporters noticed that he was having a huge building built there. So they asked him, Swamiji, you are a sannyasi. So why do you need a building? So these reporters were obviously very literate in scriptures. They knew that a sannyasi would generally not have a house. So why are you having a building constructed? You are a sannyasi. And there would be many other devotees of Srila Prabhupada. If you look at this picture right behind me, we see Srila Prabhupada in the forefront, and there are many devotees who are also in orange robes. So basically, orange robes means the renounced order. So the reporter looked at all the others and they were also in the renounced order of life. So he's like, why do sannyasis need a building? So Srila Prabhupada stopped. He was walking around, so he just stopped in his tracks. And he would always have a cane with him, a walking cane, walking stick. So he pushed that stick firmly into the ground. And the ground there was sandy. So his stick kind of just went in a little bit. And then Prabhupada turned to that reporter and he said, I can live in this hole. And he pulled out his stick very dramatically. So there was this hole that was created by his stick in the sandy soil. He said, I can live in the soil, in this hole. But then would you come here to interview me? You wouldn't. Therefore, I have to construct this building so that you can come. And then you interview us and we'll tell you about Krishna. So that is what our building here is for. So that people can come in. Especially when the weather is not really good. And they can inquire about Krishna. So the Brahmana from Pratishthanpur lived a very simple life. Did not have a house of his own. Since the time he understood as a little boy, he understood that Krishna is the goal of life. Since then, with great determination, he had accepted this way of life, this way of living, that I would not aspire to make arrangements for a house. I would not make any extra efforts to try and get money for food. I will simply beg, and whatever I receive through begging, I would be satisfied with that. And the rest of my time, I will sit on the banks of the Godavari and I will chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And that is what he did. Since the time he was in his pre-teens. Since then, practically he was not even in his pre-teens. He was like 8 or 9 years old. Since then, he practiced a life of austerity. And these were the days when one could have the freedom to kind of not go to school and sit on the banks of the Godavari and chant Hare Krishna. And he did it for days together, like days turned into years and years turned into decades. And now he was a young man in his 20s. And he still had no house. He did not go looking for a shelter, nor did he give up his practice of begging for his needs. And the people of the town, they respected his desire to lead a life like that. And they actually were very fond of him. In fact, some of them felt very proud that one of their residents was leading an austere life of Krishna conscious practice. Now, town being a holy place, a holy town, there were many temples in that town. And in those temples, the deity of Krishna would be worshipped. And he would visit the temples to have darshan of the deities. And on certain occasions, special festivals, he would see that the deities were very beautifully decorated. And his heart being pure, it got attracted to how wonderful Krishna looked, how beautiful the form of Krishna is. And at those moments, he would have a thought, maybe I should have a deity of my own. I would like to worship a deity of my own. And then he would, just within his mind, he would pray to Krishna that, my dear Lord, whatever is your desire, if I ever have a deity form of yours, then I would worship you. And being attracted to Krishna's form there, he would spend some time at the temple. Generally, he would not stay away from the banks of the river Godavari for long. That was his usual place. Whenever he needed to find some food, that is when he would come into the town. Otherwise, he was right there. But on these occasions, when he would be visiting the temples, he would spend some time at the temple being so much attracted to the deity. He would see how the devotees are serving the deity. And he saw that they would bring in these offerings for the deity, and they would mop the floor, that altar floor, and they would have these flower vases and flowers in them. And when you would look at all of those arrangements, that would slightly prevent him from wanting to have a deity. You would be thinking, oh, I have to make so many arrangements, and for that I'll have to work. And if I go outside to work, then I may be inspired to have some facilities of my own. I don't want that. I don't want to be distracted. And he would give up the idea of worshipping a deity. My dear Krishna, please forgive me. I'll go back to the banks of the river Godavari and I'll chant Hare Krishna. So this would happen occasionally. He would come to the temple, there would be this beautiful, Krishna would present his attractive form, and he would get attracted to the deity, and he would desire to have a deity for worship, and then he would see that there's so many arrangements that had to be done, and all of that involved money, and the only way to get money was, if you have to regularly worship the deity, then there has to be regular income. So he felt that he may have to work. If it was his personal deity. So he gave up that idea. And life went on for him. He was in his late 30s, nearing his 40s. And by now he had such deep realizations about Krishna and Krishna's holy names. He was always in ecstasy, always very happy. On one occasion, there was a huge festival on the banks of the river Godavari. Thousands and thousands and millions of pilgrims had come to the town of Pratishtanpur, and hordes of saints and sannyasis had come there. And there were these huge tents and pandals, and there were discourses going on morning and evening, and some discourses would happen throughout the day. And he was so very happy. He would go and sit in these discourses and would hear about Krishna, and would be so happy in this association, hearing about Krishna from other realized souls. And in one such discourse, he heard the speaker speak about worshipping Krishna in the mind, and how wonderful it is to worship Krishna in the mind. You can invite Krishna within your mind, his beautiful form, bent at 3 places, with his dark curly hair and his resplendent forehead, his lotus-like blooming eyes blooming like lotus petals, his beautiful mouth, purely white teeth, his neck like a conch shell. You can worship, you can welcome Krishna within your mind. And then within your mind you can worship Krishna with various paraphernalia, the 16 upcharas or the 64 upcharas. He became very excited. He said, wow, I always wanted to worship a deity of Krishna. Now I can worship Krishna within the mind. And he had practiced chanting of the holy names for so long, and he had controlled his senses for years and years and years. His mind was peaceful and calm like a pond, a reservoir of water in the forest, untouched. So peaceful was his mind. And within his mind he welcomed Krishna. And he was happy because he did not have to go to work anywhere. He could just welcome Krishna within his mind. And Krishna appeared within his mind. And then he offered beautiful garments to Krishna, and he offered flower garlands to Krishna, he offered ornaments to Krishna. And he would get these ornaments from all over the place. He would go to France and he would get nice scent for Krishna. And he would go to the heavenly planets and he would bring the Parijata flower from there, and you get the ornaments from diamonds from South Africa, from the diamond mines. Because in your mind you can do anything you want. I mean, we are aware of that, right? Like right now, our body is here, but our mind is somewhere else. It could be either in the Prasadam hall, or it could be at some football game. It could be worrying about cents and dollars. But a pure mind like this Brahmana's mind could retain Krishna forever and ever and ever. I mean, we try to do that within our minds, it's not possible. So, a disclaimer for all of us. Please do try this under strict supervision. It is not recommended for everyone because the mind is so fickle that we would be very much dejected by our practice. Not everyone is recommended to do this, and if you are interested, please do this practice under strict supervision. It's a very powerful process. So within the mind you can do whatever, you can get the best of the food stuff, you can get the best of the ornaments, jewelry, you can get the best of everything. So he got the best of everything from all over the place. He practically traveled from Brahma Loka to Patal Loka, and he got the best things to serve Krishna from all the 14 planetary systems. And every day he would worship, every day within his mind he would have a festival for Krishna. Every single day, 365 days a year. Sometimes when we have festival at the temple, I mean, post-festival, it's like the wind-up. It takes devotees 7 days to recover from the wind-up. So the temple is a little quiet after the festival. It's like peaceful. Because festivals take a lot of energy and time. Within your mind, you can have a festival every single day. Right? To serve Krishna. So this Brahmana would worship Krishna within his mind. And one day he decided to, after many, many years of worshipping Krishna, like he was in his 50s now, he thought of offering Krishna sweet rice. So he collected the best milk. He put the milk on the fire. He let it boil for a long time. till it became really condensed. Then he added this fragrant rice to the milk and he cooked the rice in it. Then he added sugar to it. Then he added spices to it. And he went on cooking the rice, he went on cooking the milk till it turned golden brown and thick. And then he was very happy. He wanted to offer that sweet rice to Krishna. And as he was about to offer the sweet rice to Krishna, suddenly a thought came to him. What if the sweet rice is too hot? Krishna's mouth could get burned. So he decided to see if the sweet rice was cool enough or not. So he took a spoonful of sweet rice and put it in his palm, in his hand. Ouch! It was hot. It burnt his hand. And that sensation, that feeling of being burnt was so strong that he broke out of his meditation. He was meditating. And he felt such pain that his meditation broke. And there he was on the banks of the Godavari. The same simple old Brahmana now. However, his hand was burned. His palm was burned. He had reached a particular level in his Krishna conscious practice where there was not much distinction between the subtle platform and the gross platform. He had transcended the gross platform. His external body was now so completely purified by his practice of Krishna consciousness that whatever affected him on the mental platform also affected his physical form. So when his hand got burnt, he was like, Krishna, why did you do this to me? Now in the spiritual world, Krishna started laughing. He's like, wow. Krishna felt that there are so many devotees that worship me, but this is once in a lifetime experience even for me to have such a devotee. So Krishna called for his special messengers and he sent them to Pratishthanpur. And he said, bring that devotee back to me. This devotee has qualified himself to come back to the spiritual world. So an airplane came down to the town of Pratishthanpur and welcomed the devotee in the self-same body and took him back to the spiritual world. This is a beautiful story narrated by Rupa Goswami. He explains that the process of Krishna consciousness, especially the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, is so powerful that if one practices it sincerely, then one can very easily transcend the material platform. One can very easily transcend the platform of the three modes. And one can go beyond all happiness and distress, beyond all joy and sorrow, beyond all honor and dishonor, completely unaffected by the workings of the three modes of material nature. Nistraigunya bhavarjuna, nirdvandva nitya sattvastho niryoga kshema matvavan, says Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. My dear Arjuna, try and rise above the modes of material nature, become free from the dualities, always be situated in the mode of pure goodness. And give up this life of hankering and wants. In Pratishthanpur is also a beautiful temple. Pratishthanpur is presently a town in the state, in the province of Maharashtra in India. In Maharashtra, Krishna is very famous as Lord Vitthal. Now, this is a story from the Purana from many, many years ago. There was a devotee of Lord Krishna living on the banks of the river Bhima, which is river Krishna actually. It is also because the river forms, as it flows, the river is flowing in the shape of a half moon, also called as Chandrabhaga. So on the banks of that river, Krishna had come to visit his devotee, whose name was Pundalik. And Krishna had come as the Lord of Dwarka, Dwarkadhish, resplendent with his helmet and his ornaments and his yellow garments, and looking so majestic. And Pundalik, for certain reasons, he asked Krishna to have a seat, but he did not really have a house, and he did not have a place for receiving guests. So since he was living on the close to the river banks, and sometimes the river banks, the bank of a river is quite muddy and slushy, so he felt that I should at least offer him a place to sit, a dry place. So where would he get a dry place? On the banks of the river. So he looked around and he found a small stone, a brick. So he took that brick and he asked Krishna, could you stand on this, please? I mean, I do not have a seat for you, but at least I have a standee for you, a standing place. So please, could you stand on this and keep your feet dry? So Krishna stood there and he said, hey, I've come to meet you. And he said, please give me a few moments. There is an important message on WhatsApp that I have to, no, he did not say that, but he said that I need to do something urgent in your service. So please, could you give me a couple of moments? Well, as is the nature of this material world, many a times a couple of moments try to really change into a couple of decades, a long time. You just get caught up somewhere else. So this devotee, Pundalik, got caught up in some other activity, and Krishna became a little impatient. So he had come with his, he was like standing on this brick, and being a little impatient, he put his hands on his hips like that. When is this devotee of mine going to come? And somehow the other devotee hasn't come till today. So Krishna is still waiting there with his hand on his hips, like, when is he going to come? So that is Lord Vitthal. Veet means a brick, and sthala is a place. So the place of the brick where Lord Krishna stood. So Krishna becomes the Lord that stood in the place where a brick was offered into him. That's Vitthal. Simple enough, isn't it? That wasn't too difficult to understand. So Lord Vitthal, Krishna. So here in Pratishthanpur lived a great devotee, a brilliant scholar, a very advanced devotee of Krishna, and he was always wanting to have a deity of Krishna to worship. But then the same reasons, where will I get a deity, and then I'll have to go and collect money and I'll have to make arrangements, and that is all, it is all samsara. So I would not want to do that. Far away from this village, to the south, lived a rich king. And this king was a worshipper of the goddess Durga. And one day the king felt that I should have a deity of Durga to worship. So he appointed a Shilpakar. He appointed a person who can carve out a deity from stone. So he got this stone for the person, for the sculptor, the Shilpakar. And he asked him, could you make me a deity of Durga? And he said, all right, I'm going to do that. Please come after 2 months. So 2 months later, when he arrived there, he said, who is this? He says, you ordered me to carve out this deity, so I did it. So he was asking for a deity of Durga. This is the female form of the Lord's energy, So she is a lady. So he had asked for a lady's form, and what had been carved out was a male form. And interestingly, this was the form of Krishna as Vitthal. So the king was shocked. He said, I told you to carve me a deity of Durga. Who is this? He said, I have no idea. I was just carving out according to instructions, and this is the form that was revealed. What do I do with this now? I've bought so many ornaments and dresses for the lady, like saris and things like that. How do I dress up this person? So at night, Goddess Durga appeared to him in a vision, and she said, this is my desire, and the person that has manifested is actually my master. Both me and my husband, we worship him. He is Krishna, his Lord Vitthal. So the gentleman, the rich king, he asked her, well, that is all right, so what do I do with him? Okay, he's your master, so all right. Welcome. But now what do I do with him? I have no idea what to do with him. So she told him that, travel to the north and you'll reach the river Godavari. There you'll find a saint in this town of Pratishthanpur. Hand over the deity to him. Krishna makes really wild arrangements to be worshipped by his devotee. It's amazing. So the deity traveled all the way to the north, and Krishna was traveling in his cart. And he comes to Pratishthanpur and comes up to this saintly person's house. And he looks up and he says, yes, what can I do for you? Well, we have come from this king, and this king has sent his deity. And he said, why is that? We have no idea. We are just delivery service. So kindly sign on this paper that it has been delivered. And so what do I do? We don't know. We just delivered. Please sign on this piece of paper that you've received your delivery. So he signed on that piece of paper and they left. And here there was the deity, and the deity was looking at him. And he's looking at the deity and he's like, what do I do with you? And the deity answered back. He said, well, you asked for me, so here I am. He said, I did ask for you, but then didn't you receive my second mail? I sent you another mail that please do not come right now. I do not have facilities to worship you. Krishna said, no, my server broke down. So I just had your first mail. You invited me to come here I am. So I said, how do I worship you? Krishna said, well, you can worship me with Chappan Bhog and you can build a palace for me. He said, wait. Please don't distract me from leading a simple life of service unto you. I know what happens to people who do that for their own self-interests. They get distracted. Later on, another great saint will appear and he'll travel all over the world and he'll establish temples for you. But right now, not me. So Krishna said, all right, at least give me some butter to eat. Can you manage that? He said, yes, we have a few cows and the ladies in their house, they extract butter every single day. They churn butter every single day from the yogurt. So I can serve you that. Beyond that, please don't ask me anything more. But we only serve butter in the morning and the evening. Do you get it? So he said, yes, I'll be happy with that. Morning and evening, a little butter. And the person, he went about his regular duties and he worshipped Krishna in a simple way. So Krishna said, I've traveled from this distant place. At least give me a change of clothes. I said, where can I get a change of clothes? Then I'll have to go and ask someone, and then that someone I'll have to work for him, and then again there'll be debts and things like that. So Krishna said, all right, can you offer me a cloth, an old cloth from your own house? He said, actually, there was somebody had offered me a gift a long time ago, and I had kept it. I have not used it. It was just yellow cloth, this silk yellow cloth. So I will offer that to you. So he offered that to Krishna. He made a dhoti for Krishna, and Krishna was very happy. Lord Vitthal was very happy. And then he informed Lord Vitthal, this is the only set of dhoti that you have. There's no other. So don't soil your dhoti at all. And for certain household activities, he would always go and collect water from the river morning and evening and fill up a small little tank in his house. So Krishna asked him, where do you go every day? He says, I have to get water. We have to drink water and we need water for household affairs. So how do you collect the water? Oh, in this pot. So Krishna said, all right. The next day, when he went to get the water from the river Godavari and he came back, he saw the tank was full. He said, who filled up my tank? And no answer. So just because he was so confused about the whole thing, he turned towards a deity. And he said, who filled up my tank with water? And the deity said, how should I know? I have no idea. And since then, every day he would find the tank filled up. And he's like, I have no idea what is happening, but it gives me more time to sit down and chant Hare Krishna. And so he sit down and chant Hare Krishna before the deity, and the deity was very happy. The deity was like, I did not like you spending time going to collect water. I missed your chanting, so right, sit there and chant. One day he told the deity that I'm going out. I'll be back. Where are you going? Some affairs of the house, so I'll just be out and I'll come back. And you please be careful and don't do anything naughty. The deity said, no. The deity would not shake the head, but the deity kind of indicated, no. You please be peaceful and you be, it's okay, nothing is going to happen. So he goes out and the deity is very happy. This is in the afternoon because now he could eat butter that was left over. So the deity goes to the kitchen and gets a bowl of butter and is eating. And suddenly the saint comes back, and Krishna is in the heart of everyone, but Krishna did not realize that the saint is back. Because he was so engrossed in eating the butter. He forgot to look at his camera, the CCTV, he forgot to look at his monitor, his screens. So he did not see the saint come in. And as soon as the saint walked in, it is a normal habit of people in India, especially who live in villages, that when they walk in, they kind of announce their arrival. Like, is there anyone in the house? They announce their arrival. Or they will call out for their son. Or they will call out to their wife, someone, that we are here now. So the saint walks in, opens the door, and he announces that, I am back. And Krishna says, oops! He was in the middle of eating his butter. See, somehow or the other made the bowl disappear and fly back. And then he put his hand on his hips. And then he realized, whoa, this is still buttery. There's still butter remnants on my fingers, and if I put it on my hips, the dhoti will get soiled. So rather than not have the dhoti soiled, the deity left his hand with his fingers facing downwards. So the devotee walks in and says, "What is this? Krishna, have you been naughty?" And the deity says, "No." "Then why is your hand open?" He says, "I don't know, maybe that is how I was carved. I noticed you had both of your hands on your hips. You should go and get your eyes checked. You definitely have cataract. This is how I was forever." He said, "Really? All right, then you better stay like this forever." So even today, the deity of Victor has one hand on his hip and the other hand has his hand open with his fingers pointing downwards. This is in the town of Pratishthanpur. So Krishna is very merciful. He appears within our mind. Shaili darumayi brahmi lepya lekhya cha saikati manomayi manimayi pratima ashtadha. Krishna appears in 8 forms, and one of the forms is in the mind, manomayi. And he also appears as stone, as the deity here we have in stone. And why does the deity appear? So that we can serve Krishna. And which is the easiest way to serve Krishna in the deity form? Offer nice food to him. Because then Krishna is satisfied and we are satisfied also. All the other offerings that we offer to Krishna, Krishna receives, but we do not receive it back as prasad. But food that is offered to Krishna comes back as it is, but with Krishna's special mercy. So Krishna is so merciful, he is so kind. Another form, how the deity appears, is as a picture. So we can have a picture of Krishna at home and every day offer Krishna food, which has been cooked with love and offered with love and affection. Praying to Krishna, please accept this food. Be happy. Stay here with us and bless us. And Krishna accepts that food. And by his transcendental potency, after he has accepted the food, he has eaten it, he reproduces it on the offering plate. With the same flavor, the same taste. However, there's a little difference. The food that has been given back to us by Krishna now is blessed by Krishna. And simply by eating that food that has been processed by Krishna, it is Krishna processed food. This food that has been processed by Krishna through his love processor removes all the misgivings from our heart, cleans our heart, and allows us to respect Krishna, allows us to worship Krishna, and allows us to chant his holy names. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Bhagwan ki jai, Shri Srinath Ji Bhagwan ki jai, Sai Gaur Chandra Bhagwan ki jai. So please welcome Krishna in your house in the form of a picture and offer worship unto Krishna. But most importantly, whatever you want to eat ever, make it as an offering unto Krishna first. And please offer Krishna what he likes. And if whatever Krishna likes is according to your liking, well, that is the best. However, if there is something which you like and Krishna does not accept, please don't force Krishna to accept it on your behalf. That is not love. Rather, accept that from Krishna what Krishna likes. Because Krishna is like the sun, material energy is like darkness. Wherever there is Krishna, there cannot be any darkness. And having prasad and chanting the holy names of Krishna, one can achieve the goal of human form of life, which is love for Krishna. And finally, at the end of life, one would remember Krishna and go back to the spiritual world, just as the Brahmana went back to the spiritual world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we have time for a couple of questions. Are there any questions or comments? No? Oh, sorry, yes.
You just mentioned that there are different forms when Krishna appears.
Yes.
What are other forms?
What are the other forms? How Krishna appears? So Krishna appears in various ways. The appearance of Krishna is called as an incarnation, or more specifically, avatar. So Krishna appears as the deity, that is called as Archa avatar or Archa Vigraha. Krishna appears as Prasad, that is called as Prasad avatar. Krishna appears as the association of devotees, Satsang. And Krishna appears as the Vedic literatures, the Granthavata. So these are some ways that Krishna appears in this material world. He also appears in his original form or in the form of his expansions too, at various time intervals. Is it all right? So for us, we have the Granthavata, we have Prasad, we have the Archa, we have the deity, and we have Satsang, association of devotees. Any other question, please? Somebody has a question? Yes. I'm sorry, but I could not hear you. Either you have to speak loudly or you may have to come up. Yes. Yes. You'd like to have the mic? Okay. There you go. You have to come up to the mic.
So in the Mahabharata, Krishna said that there's nothing in the world that I'm not in. But is he in pure evilness?
Wow. So the question is that Krishna Bhagavan in the Mahabharata says that there is no place where I am not existing. So does he also exist in pure evilness?
Yeah.
Yeah? Isn't that a wonderful question? Krishna exists everywhere, and in pure evilness he exists by his absence. Alright? So wherever there is pure evilness, he says, bye bye, I'm not going to stay here, and he leaves. So devotees also leave with him. So there's, if Krishna and his devotees leave, nothing exists now. Is that alright? There cannot be any evilness in God, just as there cannot be any darkness in light. But still, the absence of light brings in darkness, and similarly the absence of God brings in evil. So wherever there is no Krishna, there is evil. So is there a place where there is no Krishna? Yes. How? When we fail to acknowledge Krishna within our hearts, our failure to acknowledge Krishna within our hearts creates a space for evil to come in. And it's as easy to remove evil from our hearts. When we again accept Krishna within our hearts, evil cannot stay there anymore. Alright? So when we, because Krishna does not interfere with our free will, so although he exists everywhere, we fail to see him. Just as when we turn our face away from light, we see darkness and we are not able to see light. The darkness simply exists because we are a barrier to the flow of light. It is our own shadow. So evil is simply the existence of our own desire not to be with Krishna. Is that all right? Did you get that? Okay. Yeah, I think you're the only person who got that. Everyone else is kind of too old to accept such fairy tales. Too old and logical. One last question. We have just got 2 to 3 minutes. Any last question, anyone? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta ki jai.